Construction complete.
Acknowledged. 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 Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Affirmative.
Awaiting orders.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
New construction options. Building. Construction complete. New construction options. Building. Construction complete. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Ready and waiting. Very well.
Construction complete. New construction options. Building. Training.
Waiting orders. At once. Very well.
Unit ready.
At once.
Training. Unit
Agreed.
ready. Training. Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Ready and waiting.
Unit
Reporting.
lost.
Agreed. Reporting. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. New construction options.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Comrade. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Construction complete. New construction options. Building.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting order. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Vehicle report. Acknowledged.
Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Very well.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Building. Building. Our base is under attack.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Yes, sir.
Unit ready. Building. Construction complete. Building. Repairing.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building. Construction complete. Our base is under attack.
Yes,
Building.
sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting order.
Unit ready. Building. Construction complete. Building. Repairing.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. Unit ready. Building. Building.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Agreed.
Construction complete. Building. Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Waiting
Base
order.
is under attack. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative.
silos needed. Building.
Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Affirmative.
Building.
Ready and waiting. Affirmative.
Construction complete. Unit ready. Building. Construction complete. Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Construction complete. Our base is under attack. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Agreed.
Waiting
Awaiting
for
orders.
affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Repair. Construction complete. Cannot deploy.
Ready and waiting. Affirmative.
Building.
Vehicle report. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Agreed.
Comrade, affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Building.
Awaiting orders.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. Building. Unit ready.
Reporting.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Repair. Repair. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. Unit ready.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. At once.
Comrade. Affirmative.
Construction
Comrade.
complete.
Acknowledged.
Awaiting
Affirmative.
orders.
Waiting order. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building.
Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Construction
Affirmative.
complete. Our base is under
Acknowledged.
attack.
Acknowledged.
Repair.
Yes, sir.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Building. Construction
Yes, sir.
complete.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Waiting order.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Reporting.
Yes,
Vehicle
sir.
report.
Affirmative.
Our base is under attack.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Vehicle report. Affirmative.
Preparing.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yes, waiting order. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Preparing. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Preparing.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Reporting. Awaiting
Unit
orders.
ready.
Yes, sir.
Building. Construction complete. Preparing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Is under attack.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Preparing.
Yes, sir.
Unit ready. Building. Construction complete. Building.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Comrade. Affirmative.
Base is under attack. Preparing. Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Construction complete. Unit ready.
Reporting.
Building.
Agreed.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building. Construction complete. Structure
Reporting.
sold.
Agreed.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Primary building selected. Unit ready. Building. Construction complete. Building. Unit ready. Building. Repairing. Insufficient funds. Unit ready. Building. Construction complete.
Waiting order. Reporting. Affirmative. Comrade, affirmative. Yes, sir.
Vehicle
Waiting
reporting.
order. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Yes, sir.
Unit ready. Building.
Very well. Reporting. Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Very
Unit
well.
ready. Building.
Very well. Very well. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Of course. Very well.
Unit
Of course.
ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Agreed. Very well. Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Very well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit
Of
lost.
course.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Very well. Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. Of
Unit
course.
ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Very well. Of course. Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Very well. Yes, sir. At once.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Ready and waiting.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Ready and
Affirmative.
waiting.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. 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 Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building. Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready. Building.
Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Awaiting orders.
Building.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit
Vehicle
ready.
report. Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Comrade. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting at once. All agreed.
Building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative.
Reporting.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Vehicle report. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Report affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Waiting order. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Affirmative. Comrade. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Report acknowledged.
Affirmative. Waiting affirmative.
Unit ready.
Comrade. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Waiting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Building.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Acknowledged. Comrade. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Awaiting
Building.
orders.
Waiting order. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Comrade. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Comrade. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Building. Unit
Acknowledged.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting.
Ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Report
Unit
acknowledged.
lost. Unit ready.
Reporting.
Building. Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Reporting.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building. Unit lost. Insufficient funds.
Awaiting
Unit
orders.
ready. Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Acknowledged.
Lost. Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged. 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 Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Insufficient.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Vehicle report. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Mission accomplished.